Welcome to the Business of Business IT. I'm Bruce Guptill, and this is where we chat with IT industry leaders, executives, insiders, and analysts to understand what's disrupting the world of business and therefore what's disrupting the world of business IT, and how can we take advantage of this? My guest today is longstanding IT industry analyst Karen Hobert. A member of the Analyst Syndicate, Karen has worked with hundreds of user enterprises over the years, helping them develop and modify and optimize their business IT strategies. She's worked with dozens, if not hundreds, of providers of technology and services to help them understand what's going on the buy side, to help them figure out what to bring to market and how to do a better job at that. And she works with investors as well to help them understand what's developing, what's emerging, what's disrupting, and where the opportunities are. Karen, welcome. It is great to see you again.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, it is my pleasure. One of the reasons that I wanted to talk with you today is the series of blog posts that you've put up at the Analyst Syndicate about digital transformation, and more specifically, you have a series that talks about what is it that enterprises need to understand, what they're doing right and doing wrong, and how to fix what they're doing wrong. What are you talking about when you're talking about digital transformation, and why is it such a buzzword, and why is it so important right now?
Oh, that's great. Well, most digital transformations are what I call random acts of transformation, where what's transformed is really narrowly focused. It's usually on a specific technology or some tactical change with IT. It really puts things at the feet of IT and doesn't really address how digital can help the business and help the business to grow and change. Digital transformation projects tend to bind the organization to working for the technology, not the technology working for the business. Mm-hmm. Many digital transformation projects fail because they don't look at the broader implications of how digital works for the business.
When you say fail, do you mean that they simply don't work, or do you mean that they don't work nearly as well as they could have?
Some just don't work. Some get scrapped and have to be sent back to the drawing board and restarted. Some, they might be successful, but then people kind of sit back and scratch their head and say, well, did it move the ball any further down the field? What did this get us? But you read a lot of case studies out there, and many, they have to start from scratch all over again.
I believe the first thing is a business strategy. Is that correct?
Yes. I encourage a real different approach when it comes to digital within the business. Building a strategy called a digital enterprise, where digital technologies are really treated as part of the strategy for the business, for getting business done, for growth, for improving and even innovating. A digital enterprise transforms the nature of its business because it has digital capabilities, like electricity, or like having telecommunications, or other important things that help you do your day-to-day work. Digital should be treated in a similar fashion, and you should have a program, a vision, and a strategy for going about it.
That implies then that you have to have a pretty good idea where you think or want the enterprise to go, or at least your part of the enterprise. And you're going to need some level of business-related or perhaps outcome-related metrics that you can use to help develop the architecture and the approach, but also to help measure what it is that you want to get done.
Absolutely. And it's really starts with even a more holistic mindset. The digital enterprise is concerned with the degree that it leverages technology to conduct and enhance and even improve business. So the approach is enterprise-wide, and it also is unique to the business. The things it offers, the skills of its employees, and even the processes that it uses to conduct business. Mm-hmm. Yes, you focus on individual outcomes, but the broader outcome has to be something much more holistic, much more cultural. It has to be embedded in how the business gets done. And that's unique to every business that's out there.
That brings us to your second point in the blog post series, which is the concept and the implementation of continuous improvement. It sounds almost like a 1980s, 1990s kind of buzzword term. You know that it can really work, and you know what it takes to make it happen. So if you could explain to us what you mean by continuous improvement and what it takes to make it work.
Continuous improvement means having the mindset, the guiding principles and practices to be always improving. It's really a strategic approach. What becomes tactical is then having the capacity to always be improving. That means having the right skills and resources in places, the right tools and technologies in place so that you can improve. And it really is an organizational-wide approach. The entire organization needs to be able to improve, and it needs to have the capacity to improve. The logical conclusion from that is then, gosh, if it's the whole enterprise, then it must be driven by senior leadership. That the digital enterprise isn't an IT responsibility, it's really a business responsibility.
Excellent point. Thank you. The third point that you bring up in the series then is frictionless innovation, kind of like an oxymoron. So what is frictionless innovation and how do we make that work?
Yeah, I suppose it is an oxymoron, but only if you consider that all innovation must be revolutionary. It's got to be the big bang or nothing at all. Frictionless innovation is really evolutionary. It becomes more of a flow. The digital enterprise focus on the effectiveness of employees. By making people more effective at their jobs, it actually helps to free up resources, whether it's manpower or other types of resources, to be able to change and to do innovative work, to use their ideas and explore their ideas. So making them more effective gives them the ability to innovate, maybe in more incremental steps, but it makes it much easier to do so. And then ultimately, it feeds back into the continuous improvement. Okay, we innovate here, that makes us more effective, and now we're improving. So the two are actually quite related.
So can you share with us some of the key areas where the user enterprise, whether it's the business leaders or the IT leaders, where is it that they need help?
Most enterprises need help to actually develop their strategy for the digital enterprise, a strategy that actually meets their business and what's unique about it. They need help with envisioning things, planning things out, as well as how to adopt the strategies that they come up with. This requires a common understanding across the entire organization of the goals of what's happening again. So guidance is needed to envision the digital enterprise that's unique to that business. They need help to adopt that digital enterprise, both the mindset and the strategy. And then there needs to be leadership and accountability. Oftentimes we see in successful digital enterprise transformations, a chief digital officer, somebody who reports to the CEO and drives the accountability and the leadership for the project.
We've heard about the chief digital officer for a few years now. It's not necessarily a new concept, but it turns out, in my experience, I believe in your experience as well, it's not necessarily what it was originally envisioned, or it's not working the way that it was envisioned. Is that because the CDO, the Chief Digital Officer position, isn't always fully thought out? Or might it be because they do not get the combinations of authority and responsibility that they require, or some combination of these?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. Obviously, it depends on where they've been placed in the organization. Many times what I see is the chief digital officer is usually an extension of the IT department, maybe reporting into the CIO. And then their role and responsibility oftentimes is to work with business units and different stakeholders to address the tactical aspects, those random acts of transformation. Mm-hmm. And what we're really suggesting here in the digital enterprise is that the CDO reports up to senior leadership. In fact, during the initial phases of the transformation and the strategy, they should report into at least the CEO, if not board members, because really what they're doing they are communicating between all the business units and the technology department with senior leadership mm-hmm. to drive that new mindset and build those guiding principles and do all the sort of basic things to get the culture shifted to a mindset of using digital to transform business.
I have many more questions, but we don't have any more time for this particular episode. What we'll do is we'll talk further in a future episode about your blog post series, and I'm actually looking forward very much to getting into the specifics of your digital reference architecture. It's something whose time has not only come, but needs to be recognized that we should already be doing this. Karen, thank you very much for your time today, and I want to encourage everyone to take a look at Karen's posts at the Analyst Syndicate website. We will be inserting the website URL somewhere around here in the post-production. And again, thanks very much for your time. Looking forward to talking with you again soon.
Well, thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. We'll talk to you soon.